Discover the incredible heartwarming journey of transformation that will change your life forever. Mary woke before the sun. The house was quiet, just the soft creaks of the floorboards beneath her feet as she tiptoed to the kitchen. The smell of brewed coffee filled the air, a small comfort for a day that demanded so much. She was a single mother of 3, and the weight of the world often settled heavily on her shoulders. But just looking at her kids, their innocent faces still lost in dreams, ignited a fierce determination within her. As she made breakfast, she caught herself smiling. Jake, her eldest, rushed in, hair a wild tangle, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "Can I skip school today?" he joked, his voice ringing with youthful exuberance. "We've got a big test," she replied, ruffling his hair, but the warmth of that moment was soon overshadowed by reality. As the clock ticked, each second felt like a countdown to the chaos that awaited her. Mary took on 2 jobs just to keep the family afloat. First, it was the diner, a bustling hub in their small rural town. She poured coffee with a smile, exchanging pleasantries with regulars who brightened her days, but the grind was exhausting. Then, it was off to the grocery store, stocking shelves and ringing up customers. Every hour earned felt like a victory, yet when she came home, fatigue weighed her down like lead. One fateful day, just as her heart swelled from the laughter of her children playing in the yard, the nightmare began. Jake was wrongfully accused of misbehavior at school, a transgression he didn't commit. The news hit her like a punch to the gut. How could they do this to him? The injustice was unbearable. As they faced the school board, Mary's heart raced. They were stone-faced, seemingly more concerned about appearances than their son's future. "I want what is right for my son," she exclaimed, a voice trembling with emotion. In that moment, everything changed. The whispers of disapproval followed them home. Neighbors who once offered support suddenly turned away, their kindness replaced by indifference. Mary felt the walls closing in. This wasn't just a battle for her son, it was a battle against a system stacked against families like hers. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the storm of controversy swirled, Mary realized she couldn't fight alone. With renewed determination, she reached out to her neighbors, those who knew the struggle of raising families on tight budgets, those who believed in fairness. Together, they formed a coalition. Their collective voices brought back hope, igniting the spirit of resistance, but just when it felt like they might break through, Mary learned the school board's plan make an example of her family to quash any dissent. The realization sent chills through her. Would they really sacrifice an innocent boy just to save face? With every breath, she felt the urgency grow. Standing at this crossroads, Mary had to ask herself one question: should she fight for justice, risking everything, or allow fear to dictate her actions? Each night, as she tucked her children into bed, her heart ached at the thought of their future. Time was running out. Would the community rally behind her, or would they stay silent as she fought a battle bigger than any one person could manage? Mary's spirit was on fire, but the path ahead was unclear, and the stakes couldn't be any higher. The sun rose the next day, casting a golden hue through the kitchen window, but Mary felt no warmth. She clutched the edge of the table, staring blankly at the cereal bowls in front of her kids. Each spoonful seemed heavier than the last, each laugh echoed with doubt. Today was the day they would confront the school board again. "Mom, are you okay?" Jake asked, concern shadowing his youthful enthusiasm. He looked so much older than his 13 years, as if the burden of their fight had aged him. Just tired, sweetheart, Mary replied, forcing a smile. But as she moved about, packing lunches, her thoughts raced. Memories of the board meeting replayed in her mind, the men and women who sat behind that long table, their faces unreadable, their hearts seemingly closed. She gripped a peanut butter sandwich tightly, hoping to release some tension but only feeling it seep into her bones. As they drove to the school, tension filled the car. The silence was almost suffocating. Mary's hands tightened around the steering wheel, knuckles white. "We'll be okay, right?" Jake broke the silence. His bravery shone through even as he trembled with uncertainty. "They can't just do this to me, can they?" "No, honey," she said softly, though doubt clung heavier than the seat belt on her chest. "We are going to fight. No matter what." Upon arrival, they were greeted by a group of parents who had rallied behind them, their faces strung with resolve. Mary's heart swelled with gratitude. Families who had once looked the other way were now standing with her, and she drew strength from their presence. But the dread still clawed at her. Mary took a deep breath as she walked toward the entrance, knowing that their fight was about to unfold. In the meeting room, the board members were already seated, their expressions as cold as the sterile fluorescent lights overhead. She could feel the air grow heavier, the anxious energy wrapping around her like a cloak. "Thank you for coming again, Miss Taylor," the chairwoman began. Her tone was professional, but the insincerity was palpable. "We understand your concerns." Pushback rose within Mary. "You don't understand," she interrupted, her voice stronger than she felt. "This isn't just about a punishment, this is about justice for my son. He deserves more than being thrown to the wolves." Murmurs of agreement rose from her supporters, and for a moment Mary felt invincible. But when the board members exchanged glances, dread pulsed through her. They were unfazed. The board voted, and rejection of Mary's appeal came swift and sharp. A gasp echoed through the room, and her heart sank. The thought of her son's friends turning against him, the potential for further isolation, it all crashed upon her like waves eroding a shoreline. As they left the meeting, Mary felt defeated. Jake clung to her side, quieter than before. "It should be okay, right, Mom?" His belief shimmered, but cracks were forming. "I don't want to be this kid." Mary knelt beside him, meeting his gaze. "It is going to be okay, Jake. But we need to show them we won't back down." She felt a flicker of hope. The kindling of rebellion was beginning to light. Determined, she turned back toward the school, ready to gather her coalition of families. They would make their voices heard. But as she reached for her phone to organize a rally, an unexpected message lit up the screen, sending shivers down her spine. It was from one of the neighbors, a whisper about something bigger brewing in their town. What could it mean? Could they have help from someone beyond their small community? Mary's heart raced as she contemplated the possibilities. The message on Mary's phone was simple but charged with potential. "Meet me at the park, 4 p.m. I've got news that can help." The sender, Mrs. Lawson, was a neighbor whose kids had moved to a different school but had always kept an eye on what transpired within the community. Mary's pulse quickened as she processed the information. Could this be the lifeline they so desperately needed? "Mom? Are we still fighting?" Jake's voice broke through her thoughts. His eyes shone with determination, but the uncertainty lingered in his brow. The world around them seemed to blur as she grasped for the right words. "Yeah, Jake. We are," she breathed, wrapping her arm around him protectively. "We might have a way to reach more people. Let's out head to the park after school." The day crept by like molasses. Mary found it hard to focus on anything other than that brief message, her mind sparking with possibilities. If Mrs. Lawson had insights into what was happening behind the scenes, maybe they could uncover something more than just community support. Perhaps they could bring the problem to light and pressure the school board from another angle. After school, they made the trek to the park. The sunlight painted bright patterns through the leaves overhead, but little of it touched Mary. As she and Jake approached the familiar playground, she noticed a small crowd forming near a bench. Mrs. Lawson waved at them, her face set with urgency. "I'm so glad you both could make it," she said, her voice low, laced with urgency. "You won't believe what I found out. There's a group in town that's been organizing protests about school policies. They are always looking for local stories to highlight." Mary's heart raced as Mrs. Lawson continued, "They've faced similar issues, and they might be able to lend their voice to yours. A lot of parents feel the same way you do, Mary. You just have to reach out to them. Do you think they could help?" Jake asked, his innocence casting a hopeful glow on the situation. "Absolutely," Mrs. Lawson replied. "We need more compelling stories, evidence that what is happening to kids like Jake isn't an isolated issue. If we can gather enough parents, we can make noise they won't be able to ignore us." The idea ignited a spark in Mary. "We could hold a meeting about this, get everyone together, share their stories." The vision of voices crescendoing together made the corners of her lips lift slightly. "But what if they don't want to?" Jake murmured, the shadows of doubt crossing his face. "Then we show them why they should," Mary said, resolute. She thought of all the parents she had seen at the school, the same frustration reflected in their eyes. If we can show them they aren't alone, they'll find the courage to speak up. As they planned the meeting, the weight of her earlier defeat began to lift, replaced by a sense of purpose. They had a chance, a real chance. When they said goodbye to Mrs. Lawson, Jake looked up at Mary. "We can do this, right? More than that, we will do it," she insisted, the fire reigniting within her. "We owe it to you and all the kids who deserve better." But just as they began to strategize, Mary's phone buzzed again. It was another message, this time from an unknown number. "I know what is really happening at your school. Meet me in front of the library tomorrow at noon. It's urgent." Mary's heart sank, yet thrill coursed through her veins, another chance to dig deeper into this fight. What could this stranger reveal? As they walked home, she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders again, but intertwined with a flicker of hope. They were on a precipice, and the tumble could either crush them or reshape everything. "Mom, what do you think they want?" Jake asked. She looked down at him, her heart pounding. The uncertainty of tomorrow was looming, but one thing was clear, they were not done fighting yet. What secrets lay hidden in the shadows of their town? The next morning dawned with a heavy sky, grey and foreboding. Mary felt apprehensive as she got Jake ready for school, her mind racing with thoughts of the meeting at the library. She wondered who the unidentified messenger was and what they knew about the turmoil at the school. "Mom, are you okay?" Jake broke her reverie, frowning slightly at her distracted demeanor. "Yes, sweetheart. Just thinking about everything," she replied, forcing a smile. "You got your lunch?" Jake nodded, sensing something was off. "You'll be at the meeting, right?" "Absolutely," she reassured him. "I promise I'll be right there." The clock ticked painfully slow as Mary waited for noon. She felt an odd mix of anticipation and dread, like standing at the edge of a cliff, contemplating the jump. Striding into the library, the familiar scent of books and paper only heightened her anxiety. It was a refuge, yet it felt like a battleground today. As she approached the glass doors, her heart hammered. Outside, she spotted a figure pacing. A woman with dark, windswept hair and an uneasy expression. Mary sensed the urgency in her body language. The woman looked like she carried a mountain of secrets. "Are you Mary?" the woman asked, her voice low and steady. "Yeah. And you are Mary?" began Julia. "I used to work at the school." Her gaze darted to the entrance, as if wary of being followed. "I have information you'll want to hear, information that can help your son." Mary swallowed hard, trying to quell the rising tide of worry. What do you know? There are things happening behind the scenes that the administration doesn't want parents to know, Julia stated, glancing around before lowering her voice. Policy changes, bullying cover-ups, it's all more organized than you might think. Mary's breath caught in her throat. What do you mean? Let's just say certain staff members have been instructed to silence accusations by controlling narratives. If parents rally behind the stories, it could put pressure on the board to change their stance. Julia's eyes narrowed, the nervous energy buzzing between them. A chill ran down Mary's spine. What are you suggesting? We need proof. Evidence of their misconduct. If we can compile enough stories from parents and students, we can expose the truth. Julia took a step closer, intensity written across her face. Your journey at the park could be the start of something bigger, but you need to be prepared. It's going to get messy. Mary's mind reeled. This was bigger than she had anticipated. But I want to help Jake and the other kids. I don't want to make it worse. Julia interrupted gently, it's important to understand that the truth can be painful, but it's also powerful. You have to decide how far you are willing to go for your son and the other kids fighting this battle. There is no easy path, but you might find people who are just as scared and desperate for change. The weight of her words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Mary's heart raced with the uncertainty of a choice she hadn't expected to face. Could she step into the harsh light of exposure knowing the risks? Okay, I'm in, Mary said, determination fueling her resolve. What do we do next? Julia's face broke into a weary smile. We organize a meeting, gather stories, and confront the school board with evidence. You won't be alone, I have contacts that might want to join this fight with you. As they began discussing their plan, a flicker of hope ignited within Mary, though it was accompanied by fear. Together, they would go into enemy territory. But what if the community didn't hold the same urgency as they did? In that moment, Mary knew this was just the tipping point. She looked Julia in the eye, determination solidifying. We need to do this right. For Jake. Yet as they organized their next steps, a shadow from her past crept into Mary's thoughts. Who could have sent the mysterious message? What more secrets lay in the shadows waiting to be uncovered? Before they left the library, Mary felt a chill in the air, half fear, half exhilaration. Just how deep did this rabbit hole go? Would they have the courage to face whatever emerged? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the library's parking lot, Mary's thoughts swirled like storm clouds. She had known fear before, but this felt different. It was a raw, pulsing energy that made her realize she was standing at a crossroads. What if we gather all the parents and present a united front? Mary suggested, her voice hitting the air with a sense of urgency. That way, they can't ignore us. I like that idea, Julia replied. If we show them we are serious, we might just get their attention. The intensity in her eyes mirrored Mary's own determination. Over the next hour, they sketched out plans, exchanging phone numbers and preparing a list of parents they could reach out to. Each name sparked an emotion, some familiar, some distant. Mary felt a swelling hope amidst the anxiety. These were people who loved their children just as she loved Jake. Rushing back home, she found Jake sprawled on the couch, engrossed in a video game. His face lit up as she entered, momentarily making her worries fade. Hey, Mom. You are back early. Did you get ice cream? His joy was infectious, pulling her back into the innocence of childhood. Not today, buddy. But I do have something important to talk to you about. Jake paused his game, the excitement fading to curiosity. What is up? School is well, it's complicated right now. Some things might change, and I need your help, she said, crouching down to meet his gaze. There are kids who need a voice. Like the kids getting bullied. He asked, his brow furrowing. Are we gonna do something about it? His words hit Mary like a wave. It wasn't just about her mission, it was about the childhood of every kid caught in the crossfire. Exactly. I'm going to need you to be brave, okay? We are part of something that can help them. Okay, Mom. Jake's enthusiasm returned, brightening the room. I'll talk to my friends about it. Mary felt an unexpected swell of pride. This was more than she'd hoped for. But even as she encouraged him, a knot formed in her stomach. How could she protect him from the fallout that might come? That night, after Jake fell asleep, Mary found herself scrolling through her messages. She checked in with Julia, making sure their plans were still on track for the community meeting. It was at that moment when something caught her eye, a new message from an unknown sender. Meet me at the old playground. Tomorrow at sundown. I have information that could help your cause. Her heart skipped a beat. Who was this person? Could they really hold keys to secrets lacking even deeper? The doubts churned within her. Did she dare to meet a stranger in the fading light? Yet something pulled her toward the message. If there were more truths to uncover, she felt she had to follow this lead. She wanted answers, as she craved clarity. As she lay in bed, the shadows danced around her, whispers of the past mingling with fears of the future. The excitement had intertwined with trepidation, and she couldn't shake the sense that this was just the beginning of a much larger journey. What lay at the playground? Was it another step toward bringing truth to light, or would it plunge her deeper into a darkness she wasn't ready to face? The heaviness of that question settled in, echoing like the heartbeat in her chest. Mary knew she had to find out. Mary awoke with the morning sun streaming into her room, illuminating the dust motes that danced in the light. She lay there for a moment, her heart racing at the thought of the meeting later that day. The old playground was a memory from her own childhood, a place of laughter and carefree days. But now, it felt like a ghostly reminder of everything that had changed. After getting Jake ready for school, Mary tried to shake off her apprehension. She smiled, laughed, and even joined him for a few rounds in his game, determined to maintain this light-hearted atmosphere. Yet the urgency of their cause loomed over her like a storm cloud. Don't forget to talk to your friends, okay? She said as Jake headed out the door, his backpack bouncing against him. I want tea, Mom. I got this. He called back, his enthusiasm infectious. But with every step he took away, doubt surged inside her. What if she was dragging him into something risky? Once he was off, Mary sat at the kitchen table, staring at her coffee as if it were a crystal ball revealing her future. She had ready her list of parents to contact, but this meeting felt more crucial than that. It felt like a turning point, a leap into the unknown where she might find the pieces to form a clearer picture of what was happening at Jake's school. As the hours crawled by, anxiety twisted in her stomach. She paced the house, replaying the message over and over in her mind. Just a meeting. No big deal, right? But it was more than that, more than just a random conversation. This mysterious sender seemed to know something. What if they were connected to the bullying issue that had haunted the school for so long? By late afternoon, she felt a mix of urgency and dread. She slipped on comfortable shoes, her heart pounding like a drum. With each step toward the playground, she battled the images in her mind, fighting against what terrible truths might await her. The old playground came into view, its swings creaking under the pressure of the soft breeze, rusted and coated with layers of neglect. It was quiet, too quiet, as the memories flooded back, children chasing, laughter ringing in her ears. Mary scanned the area as she approached. No sign of anyone. Just old trees standing like silent sentinels. She felt a chill creeping up her spine, part excitement, part fear. The thought of turning back tugged at her, but she was here now. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from behind the slide, startling Mary. The person was cloaked in shadows, but as they stepped into the fading light, she could make out a familiar face. Patrick, a father from the school, someone she had seen at previous meetings, but hardly knew. "I'm glad you came," he said, a mix of urgency and relief in his tone. "We need to talk." Mary nodded, caught off guard by the parallel sense of relief as well as apprehension. "You have information?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "More than that? You are not going to believe what has been happening," he replied, his gaze scanning the area as if expecting someone to creep up on them. But before he could continue, a sudden rustle in the bushes nearby made them both jump. Fear coursed through Mary. Who else was out here? What was this about to turn into? "Let us talk quickly," Patrick urged, his voice dropping low. "There is something you need to know if you're serious about helping the kids." Her heart pounded. This was it, the moment of truth was upon her. She could either dive deeper into the shadows or walk away, leaving the mystery unsolved. Mary inhaled deeply, adrenaline coursing through her veins. What was waiting ahead could change everything, then there was no going back now. What revelations lay ahead in the meeting of darkness and truth? Would she be ready for what she might uncover? Patrick glanced over his shoulder again, scanning for anyone who might be lurking in the shadows. The anxiety in his eyes mirrored what Mary felt inside. "We shouldn't be here for long," he insisted, urgency etched into the lines of his face. "Why? What should we be worried about?" Mary asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let us just say that things are worse than they seem at the school," he replied, stepping closer, his voice barely concealing the tremor of fear. "There is a group kids, older ones trying to intimidate the younger children. Jake is not safe, and it's hard to watch it happen." Mary felt a lump form in her throat. Jake? Her sweet, innocent boy. What do you mean, intimidating? Are they hurting them? Not just physically. It's emotional too. They form cliques and play mind games, spreading rumors and instilling fear. It's tearing apart the kids' spirits, and no one is doing anything about it. Patrick's words sent a sharp pang through her chest. But why? How did this start? She was desperate for clarity in the chaos, her mind racing through the implications of his confession. There has been a shift in the school's culture. Some of the teachers turn a blind eye. Maybe even some parents. He hesitated, searching her face for understanding. There is a desperation here that runs deeper than just bullying. It's about power and control. What can we do? Mary asked, her heart pounding. She felt a mixture of rage and helplessness bubbling within. I can't just sit back and let this happen. I'm glad you are here, because I think we can organize, he said, his eyes lighting with determination. But we need the right people on board. Parents who care. We have to confront the school and demand change. We have to protect our kids. Mary nodded, a sense of purpose growing inside her. She would not allow fear to paralyze her or to keep her from her mission. Count me in. Just as Patrick began to outline a plan, the rustling in the bushes became more pronounced. Something or someone was lurking nearby. Mary's senses sharpened. She shared a worried look with Patrick, the gravity of their situation sinking in. In an instant, a figure emerged from the trees, and Mary's breath hitched in her throat. It was a boy, trembling, dirt smudged across his cheeks. Help, he whimpered, his voice quaking. They are going to find me. Mary's instincts kicked in. She stepped forward protectively, eyes darting around for any signs of danger. Who is going to find you? The boy looked between Mary and Patrick, his eyes wide with fear. The older kids, they said they'd get me if I told anyone. A rush of horror washed over Mary. The cycle of terror wasn't just happening to Jake, it was wrapping chains around all of them, suffocating any hope of joy or relief. "Come here. You are safe," Patrick said, kneeling down to the boy's level. "You can stay with us." As Mary took the boy's hand, she felt the weight of a looming crisis pressing heavier than ever. It was more than just her child at stake, it was an entire generation. She knew in that moment, their small meeting had just become the front line of a war they had no choice but to fight. What was the boy's story? How many others were hiding in fear? Would Mary and Patrick's fledgling movement be enough to change the tide, or were they stepping into a much deeper abyss than they ever imagined? The boy's small hand trembled in Mary's grip, a fragile connection that anchored her to the reality of their situation. She could feel the anxiety radiating off him, palpable in the cool evening air. His wide eyes darted to every sound, as if at any moment, shadows could swallow him whole. "Breathe," Mary whispered, her own heart racing. "You are safe with us. No one is going to hurt you." The boy gulped. "I'm Sam," he said, voice cracking. I was just walking home, and they cornered me. They said if I didn't join them, they'd make my life hell." "Do you know who they are?" Patrick asked, maintaining a calm, soothing demeanor, his eyes scanning the surroundings every few seconds. "Some kids from school. They wear black hoodies and have this look in their eyes." Sam shivered, then Mary could see the vivid terror painted on his face. Mary's stomach twisted with all the unspeakable realities of what children like Sam faced. Her mind raced with images of Jake, vulnerable and innocent, standing alone against that kind of fear. She had to fight. They all had to fight. "Listen, Sam," Mary said, kneeling down so she could meet his gaze. "We are going to make sure this stops. You are not alone in this. We'll find a way to get you help." "Really?" he asked, a flicker of hope blooming in his eyes. "Yes. Absolutely. But we need to gather others, kids like you, who are scared but need a way out," Patrick chimed in, his conviction building. "If we can show how many there are, it'll make a difference." Mary felt the surge of determination rise within her, and as they discussed the next steps, she realized there might be a chance. They could spark something bigger, a movement that could resonate with everyone who felt the burden of fear. "Let us meet up at our place tomorrow," Mary suggested. "If we spread the word, we might find more kids willing to stand together." "But what if they find out? What if the older kids hurt us?" Sam's voice was barely audible, a quiver lacing through his words. "We'll figure it out. We are going to protect each other," Patrick reassured him. "Bringing strength in numbers is the best way to combat this." With that shared resolve, the trio set off toward home, the lingering unease hanging in the air like a thick fog. Mary's heart ached at the thought of just how deep the issue ran. It was no longer just about the school, it was about creating a safe space where children could thrive, untainted by fear and intimidation. The next morning, Mary awoke to a sense of urgency that filled her stomach with butterflies. Today was crucial. If they could gather enough kids together, if they could unite their voices, it might just be the spark needed to challenge the status quo. As she prepared breakfast, her thoughts wandered to Jake. Would he be brave enough to stand with them? The uncertainty made her chest tighten, yet she tucked her hope inside her like a secret promise. "I'll talk to him after school," she resolved aloud. The feeling of anticipation gripped her tight as she rushed to the school. The hallways felt more sinister than usual, shadows creeping along the walls and echoing the whispers of dread. Kids hurried past, eyes glued to the ground as they navigated their way through the chaos of laughter and whispers. Mary searched for Jake, but the crowd swallowed her, pushing her closer to the principal's office. She caught a glimpse of the older kids, their laughter echoing like thunder, a reminder of the danger lurking just beneath the surface. "Jake?" she called out, desperation creeping into her voice, but nothing. "What if he gets pulled in? What if he is too scared to join us? Panic clawed at her thoughts. Maybe, just maybe, today would be the day she found the courage to reach him before he slipped further into the murky waters of intimidation. She took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of strength. Her child's innocence needed saving. The battle was only beginning, and she was prepared to fight to the very end. Would Jake stand up, or would he let fear dictate his choices, just like Sam? The answers loomed ahead, waiting in the uncertainty of the day. The day dragged on as Mary moved through classes, her mind trapped in a whirlwind of thoughts. She couldn't focus on the lesson about ancient civilizations. Every time the teacher's voice faded away, she could see Jake's face etched with uncertainty. Would he come? Would he understand how vital it was for him to join them? With every ringing bell, her anxiety intensified. She scanned the crowd in the hallway, searching for the familiar messy hair and sweeping smile that so often calmed her nerves. It felt like every heartbeat echoed a reminder that time was slipping away. During lunch, she spotted Jake sitting alone at a table in the corner. The laughter of other kids filled the air, but he looked isolated, his gaze lost somewhere between the fork and his tray. Her heart sank. "Hey, Jake," she called, trying to inject energy into her voice, but dread settled in her chest like lead. He remained still, as if caught in a thick glass wall, unable to hear her. Mary pushed through the sea of tables. "Jake?" she repeated softly once she reached him. He looked up, his hazel eyes dimmed by uncertainty. "What is up, Mary? Can we talk?" The words stumbled out as she gestured toward an empty bench by the wall. He nodded and got up, but the whole way over, Mary felt the tension curling around them. She settled on the bench, facing him with a sense of urgency. Sam was being threatened by some older kids. "We are planning to meet tomorrow and gather others. I'm hoping you'll come too." His eyes flicked away. "What if they find out? What if?" He hesitated, his face going pale. "What if they hurt us?" "Exactly. That is why we need to stick together," Mary said, leaning closer, her voice growing fierce with passion. "We can't let fear control us, Jake. There are so many kids like us, just waiting for someone to be brave enough to stand up." He exhaled, the hair falling over his eyes as he pressed his lips into a thin line. "Sam is terrified. We can help him. We can help each other. You are not alone in this." Mary's heart raced as she desperately reached for the hope she wished to inspire in him. "I don't know," he whispered, shaking his head. "Please." She felt a lump rising in her throat. "What are you afraid of?" "Because we are all feeling it. Not just you. If we can stand together, we can change things. We can be the ones that turn this fear into something real, into hope." Jake's expression shifted, a trace of something behind the hesitation. For a moment, their eyes met, and Mary could see the fight flickering in him. "But what if it doesn't work? What if they still come after us? Then we try again. We get stronger together," she said, her own resolve hardening with each word. "This is just the beginning. We could be the first step toward something bigger, something that changes everything." He hesitated, caught between the weight of fear and the spark of courage she was offering. The lunchroom buzzed around them, filled with laughter, but Mary could only hear the sound of her heartbeat, desperate for him to choose bravery. "Okay," he finally said, almost a whisper, but it felt like the turning of a key in a lock. "I'll do it." The sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the shadows of uncertainty that had clouded their thoughts. Relief flooded over Mary, filling the space they occupied and igniting a flame of hope between them. "Tomorrow, then," Mary said, beaming, and the smile that broke across Jake's face lit her up even more. But as the lunch bell rang and the students began to rise, the fear that had lingered since yesterday came rushing back. Jake might be standing with her, but what would happen when they finally faced those who threatened them? Would they break through the shadows or would they crumble? As they walked out together, Mary felt the weight of the moment settling over her like an impending storm. What happened next would shape everything. Would they have the power to spark a movement, or would they fade back into fear? The next day dawned bright and hopeful, but Mary could feel the tension coiled tight within her like a spring. Today was the day. They had gathered a group of kids, each faced with their struggles, ready to unite as one voice. As she drove to the park, the sunlight filtering through the trees felt like a warm embrace, but doubt clung to every breath she took. Pulling into the park, she spotted the assembled group: Jake, Sam, and a handful of other kids, their faces a mix of fear and anticipation. Mary felt a swell of pride. They were here, despite the risks. Okay, everyone. Let's huddle up. She called, her voice cutting through the anxious chatter. As they formed a circle, Mary looked into the faces of these kids, their eyes wide with uncertainty. Today, we are taking a stand. You are not alone. We are going to make sure that everyone knows what happens at our school. Together. Jake's face brightened, the spark igniting in his hazel eyes. Sam's nod was firm, a flicker of courage budging into his tiny frame. That was it. They were ready. What do we do? A girl named Emily asked, her voice shaky but resolute. We tell our stories, Mary replied passionately. Each of you has something important to say. We'll share our experiences and show how this affects us. When we stand together, it's harder for anyone to ignore us. As they spoke one by one about their struggles, how they had been bullied, pressured, or silenced, Mary could see their confidence emerge. That raw honesty bound them like glue. Each word spoken was a thread weaving a tapestry of resilience against the darkness. When they finished sharing, the silence lay thick, but it carried a weight of hope. Now, we are going to present these stories to the school board, she declared. But first, we need to gather more support. Each of you should invite your parents. This needs to be a community effort. The kids nodded in agreement, determination settling in their stance. But with that came the looming fear. What if they met strong resistance? What if they backed down? Mary pushed those thoughts aside. Today was about courage. Afterward, they all exchanged contact information. Let us meet back tomorrow in the same place, she instructed. We'll formulate a plan and head to school together. The group dispersed, hugs exchanged, excitement buzzing through the park. That evening, Mary found herself in bed, her pulse racing. Would they pull it off? Would they find the strength within themselves, and recruit their families to join? Just as sleep was slipping in, her phone buzzed with a message. It was Julia. Meet me at the diner, 7 a.m. We need to strategize. The next morning came too soon, but Mary went anyway, fueled by relentless optimism. Arriving at the diner, Julia greeted her with a bright smile. I've been drafting our message for the board. We need to present a united front. Mary felt the energy resonate. They mapped out a plan with bullet points that would highlight the need for change, the call to action. Every detail paired with urgency. They would also need the backing of parents. Each signature, each voice echoed the cries of all children silenced and ignored. At the end of the meeting, Mary's heart pounded with hope. They were moving, pushing against the wave of stagnancy in their school. She raced home, excitement pulsating through her. Jake? You awake? She called, bursting through the door. Yeah, Mom. He replied groggily. What's up? We are organizing a meeting with all the parents tonight. I need you to help me get the word out. Talk to your friends and ask them to invite their parents. We need as many people as possible to stand behind us. Jake's eyes danced with resolve. You got it. I'll text everyone right now. As night fell, Mary gathered around the dining table with the kids' parents who had come to hear the stories. The collective energy electrified the room. Each parent shared their deep concerns, reflecting the notes they'd taken. Mary felt gratitude swell within her chest. These were people stubborn enough to fight for what was right. Tomorrow, we are going to the school board meeting, Mary declared. We are going to present these stories, our unified voices. We must get our kids the safety and respect they deserve. The parents nodded in agreement, murmurs of support rising like waves. As she arrived at the board meeting the next day, Mary felt a mix of trepidation and excitement wash over her. The crowd gathered outside the school building, anticipation bubbling amongst them like champagne, ready to explode. They held homemade banners adorned with empowering words, unity for change. No more silenced voices. When it was their turn to speak, Mary's heart raced. She took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of Jake's hand in hers, calming her. This was it. She walked to the podium, faced the board members seated before her, their expressions cold and indifferent. Today, we are here not just for our children, but for every single kid who has felt fearful, isolated, or ignored. We are sharing their truths. They are more than numbers, they are our kids, she declared, each word ringing clear. No more bullying, no more silence. We demand change. With every story told, the crowd grew louder, emotions spilling over like a breaking dam. Others in attendance joined in, sharing their own experiences. Mary's voice trembled but never faltered. She could see the board members shifting uncomfortably. At that moment, she knew they had sparked a fire that could no longer be extinguished. As the applause erupted, hope hung thick in the air, and each clap resonated like a heartbeat. The road ahead remained uncertain, but Mary felt a profound transformation. Fear had been confronted, voices lifted, and barriers shattered. The community that felt so distant now rallied as families strengthened, united with hearts ignited with new resolve. Mary squeezed Jake's hand tighter. Together, we did this, she whispered with tears in her eyes. We are just getting started. The fight for justice was far from over, but today was their moment, a testament that even the smallest voices, when united, could shake the foundation of fear and bring forth undeniable change for future generations. And so, the transformation began. If you felt inspired by this incredible journey of transformation, then you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for stories that uplift and unite us all. Leave a like now, it fuels a powerful movement and helps us reach even more hearts. Comment your thoughts, feelings, and reactions to this impactful ending. Your voices matter. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and empower others in their own journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting all our future adventures together.